Have you ever wondered how some people remain calm when everything around them is falling apart? Why do certain individuals face adversity with clarity while others crumble at the slightest pressure? What separates the focused from the scattered, the wise from the reactive, the strong from the shaken? These aren't just personality traits, they are disciplines, they are virtues, and they can be cultivated. Today we dive into the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and the Stoic legends to discover how you can become stronger, wiser, and more focused. Before we begin, if you're on a journey of self-mastery, clarity, and strength, subscribe and join this community of warriors in the making. Now, let's begin the transformation. Wisdom isn't about how many books you've read or how many quotes you can recite. It's not a matter of high IQ, academic degrees, or how well you can win a debate. True wisdom in the Stoic sense is about clarity. It's about seeing things as they are, not as you wish them to be, and certainly not as your emotions might distort them. The Stoics understood that emotions, while natural, often cloud our judgment. Fear, anger, jealousy, excitement, these emotional waves can blur our perception and lead us to act impulsively. Wisdom, then, begins with stillness. It begins with the ability to pause and observe, to separate what is real from what is reaction. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote to himself in his journal, a work now known as Meditations, as a daily practice of clarity. He reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This wasn't a motivational phrase. It was a discipline. It was a constant effort to return to a place of inner stability, especially when chaos reigned outside. Think about the last time you were overwhelmed. What were you feeling? What story were your emotions telling you in that moment? Often our reactions are based on exaggerated narratives, fear of the worst, anger that insists on blame, sorrow that whispers that nothing will ever improve. But when you step back and ask, what is truly happening here? You begin to practice wisdom. This does not mean repressing emotions or pretending they don't exist. Stoicism isn't about becoming a robot. It's about acknowledging emotion without being controlled by it. You can feel fear, yet still act with courage. You can feel anger, but choose to respond with reason. Wisdom is found in the space between stimulus and response. That gap is where your freedom lies. Seneca, another great Stoic, warned that people suffer more in imagination than in reality. How often have you worried about something that never happened, or lashed out in anger only to regret it later when things were not as bad as they seemed? Emotion wants to leap into action. Wisdom asks you to wait, to breathe, to see clearly. This practice is not passive. It's not about stepping back and letting life happen to you. On the contrary, it's one of the most powerful forms of control you can develop, the control of your inner world. Every time you take a step back and choose clarity over chaos, you are exercising strength of character. You are becoming harder to provoke, easier to trust, and more grounded in reality. This kind of wisdom also cultivates empathy. When you're not ruled by your own emotional storms, you become better at understanding others. You can see through their words to what they might be feeling. You listen better, you judge less. Wisdom doesn't just make you smarter, it makes you kinder, more balanced, and ultimately more free. In a world of constant distraction and emotional reactivity, wisdom is revolutionary. It allows you to respond rather than react, to choose rather than be dragged along by habit or impulse. And each time you pause, reflect, and respond with clarity, you are building the foundation of a powerful life. That's not weakness, that's not passivity, that's power. Strength is one of the most misunderstood virtues in modern society. Too often it's confused with aggression, loudness, or physical dominance, but to the Stoics, real strength was quiet. It didn't demand attention. It wasn't about control over others, it was about control over yourself. True strength is the ability to remain steady when life gets difficult. It's in the quiet discipline of waking up and showing up, even when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it. It's easy to be consistent when things are going your way. The test of strength is how you act when everything is against you. Epictetus, once a slave, later became one of the most respected Stoic teachers. His life was filled with hardship, yet he never allowed his circumstances to break him. He taught that suffering itself doesn't ruin a person. It's how we respond to it that shapes our character. Difficulties show a person's character, he said. So when trouble comes, think of yourself as a wrestler being matched with a tough opponent. For what purpose? To turn you into an Olympic champion. This is the Stoic mindset. Hardship is not something to avoid, but something to embrace. Every challenge is an opportunity to build inner fortitude. Strength isn't built in public moments of applause or recognition. It's built in private moments of doubt when you decide not to quit. It's found in how you carry yourself through boredom, rejection, illness, and pain. It's when you don't give in to complaining. It's when you keep moving forward, even if it's just one small step at a time. This kind of strength does not rely on hype or motivation. Motivation fades, feelings come and go, but commitment, a deep, quiet decision to endure, is what allows you to grow beyond your limits. Modern culture often tells us to seek comfort, to avoid pain at all costs. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. Voluntary discomfort was a common Stoic practice. Seneca would sometimes sleep on the floor, eat the simplest food, and wear rough clothes, not out of masochism, but to remind himself that he could endure hardship. That if life stripped him of comforts, he would still remain unshaken. Strength is not about pretending things don't hurt. It's about facing pain without being destroyed by it. You can cry, you can grieve, you can falter, but you don't give up. You carry your pain with dignity, and through this process, you become unbreakable. Focus is not just about productivity. It's not about how much you can get done in a day, how many boxes you check off your to-do list, or how many goals you chase at once. True focus is about clarity. It's about knowing what matters most and having the courage to eliminate what doesn't. In a world that constantly demands your attention, emails, social media, messages, distractions, focus has become a superpower. But it's not something you're born with. It's something you cultivate through choices. And sometimes those choices are difficult. The Stoics understood that life is short. Time is the one resource you can never get back. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Focus begins when you realize how precious your attention is and how easily it can be stolen. Every time you check your phone out of boredom, get caught in drama that doesn't concern you, or say yes to something you don't care about, you are trading your time for something meaningless. Focus asks a harder question. Does this align with my values? Is this helping me become who I want to be? To answer that, you must first know who you are and who you want to become. Without that inner compass, the world will pull you in every direction. But when you have clarity, focus becomes an act of integrity. Simplicity is the byproduct of elimination. The Stoic life was not one of constant hustle, but of deliberate action. They believed in living according to nature, which means living in alignment with your principles, and that often requires saying no more than yes. Focus is not about doing more, it's about doing less, better. It's about full presence. When you read, read fully. When you rest, rest fully. When you work, work with intention. Scattered attention weakens you, focus sharpens you, and yes, elimination requires courage. It means disappointing others. It means stepping away from distractions that feel good but leave you empty. It means choosing the harder path, the one that's meaningful. But when you eliminate what doesn't matter, what remains is pure, and what's pure is powerful. Choose wisely. There is a sacred space between stimulus and response, a brief, powerful moment that often determines the direction of our lives. Most people miss it entirely. Something happens, a rude comment, a piece of bad news, a betrayal, and without thinking, they lash out. Emotion explodes, words are said that cannot be taken back, actions are made in haste, and regret follows closely behind. But the Stoic sees that space. The Stoic trains for it. That moment, that gap, is where strength is born. This space between what happens to you and how you choose to act is not empty. It is filled with potential. It is the arena where your values, your discipline, and your wisdom come into play. This is the discipline of the gap, learning to pause, reflect, and then respond. It is not passive. It is not weakness. In fact, it requires more strength to hold back than to give in. More strength to govern your mind than to be ruled by your impulses. Reacting is instinctual. It is primal. It is the way of the untrained mind. When you react, you hand over your power. You become a puppet, pulled by the strings of emotion, fear, or ego. But when you respond, intentionally and deliberately, you reclaim control. You become the author of your own life. The Stoics knew this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." What he points to is the truth that while you cannot always control what life throws at you, you can always control how you meet it. This pause, this gap, is where you examine your values. What do you stand for? Who do you want to be in this moment? Is the anger you're feeling justified? Will acting on it improve the situation or deepen the problem? These are the kinds of questions that arise when you give yourself a moment to think, when you choose to respond, not react. This doesn't mean ignoring your emotions or pretending they don't exist. The Stoic is not emotionless. The Stoic is emotionally disciplined. Emotions are signals. They can inform you, but they must not control you. Like a seasoned captain sailing through rough waters, you acknowledge the storm, but you do not let it steer the ship. You adjust your course with calm, not chaos. Training yourself to pause in the heat of the moment is not easy. It requires awareness and repetition. But every time you succeed in creating that gap, every time you take a breath instead of barking a reply, every time you reflect before acting, you build inner strength. You become less reactive, more grounded. You become someone who acts based on principle, not passion. One way to cultivate this pause is through journaling. At the end of each day, reflect on the moments when you reacted impulsively. Ask yourself, what triggered me? What could I have done differently? Over time, this reflection builds the muscle of awareness. Another method is deep breathing. In a moment of rising tension, take a single breath. It sounds simple, but that breath creates just enough space to think, to shift from reaction to response. Eventually, this gap becomes second nature. You don't have to force it. You've trained yourself to slow down, to remain composed, to act with clarity even when others are losing control. In that way, you become an anchor for yourself and for others. In a world that rewards quick reactions and hot takes, your calm becomes rare, and rare is valuable. The discipline of the gap is not just a Stoic strategy, it's a way of life. It is how you reclaim your mind from the chaos of modern distractions, how you maintain peace in the face of provocation, and how you grow into the person you were meant to be. When you master this space, you master yourself. And when you master yourself, you are free. Adversity is not a detour. It is the path. The Stoics understood this better than most. Life is not meant to be easy, and those who seek only comfort and ease will find themselves ill-equipped when difficulty inevitably arrives. But those who prepare for hardship, who welcome challenges as teachers, build a strength that no storm can break. Think of a blade. It is not forged in comfort, it is forged in fire, heated, hammered, and shaped. Only through this intense process does the blade become sharp. You are no different. Every hardship you endure has the potential to shape you, to refine your character, to make you stronger. The question is not, why is this happening to me? But what is this preparing me for? This shift in perspective is powerful. It turns suffering into meaning. It transforms pain into fuel. When you begin to view adversity as a necessary part of growth, you stop running from it. You face it. You embrace it. And in doing so, you become something more than you were before. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus was born a slave. He endured unimaginable hardship, but he did not see himself as a victim. He said, "Difficulties are things that show a person what they are." In other words, hardship reveals your true nature. When everything is easy, anyone can appear composed. But under pressure, your values are tested, your discipline is tested, your character is revealed. Each obstacle you face is a chance to rise, a chance to practice courage, a chance to develop resilience. Whether it's a broken relationship, a job loss, a betrayal, or even a personal failure, these moments do not define you. How you respond to them does. You are not fragile. That is a lie sold to you by a world that profits from your weakness. You are strong. But strength must be earned. It is not given. And adversity is the cost. When you stop avoiding hardship and start facing it head-on, you begin to grow into your potential. The Stoics believed in the concept of amor fati, the love of fate. It means loving not just what is easy, but also what is hard. It means welcoming everything that life brings, even pain, as necessary for your development. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The obstacle becomes the path." You don't grow when things are easy. You grow when you are challenged, when you are stretched, when you are uncomfortable. That discomfort is not a signal to quit. It is a sign that you are on the verge of transformation. Adversity teaches patience. It teaches humility. It teaches gratitude. It strips away what is unnecessary and reveals what is essential. Through struggle, you learn what really matters and who you really are. Journal your hardships. Reflect on them. Ask, what did I learn? How did I grow? Who did I become because of this? You will often find that your greatest periods of growth came after your darkest times. That's no accident. That is nature's way. So do not resist adversity. Embrace it. Lean into the discomfort. You are being shaped into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable. Life is not trying to break you. It is trying to build you. And the version of you that emerges on the other side, that unshakable, resilient, clear-minded version, is your highest self. Let adversity do its work, not by crushing you, but by carving you into someone who cannot be rattled, into someone who rises again and again, into someone who, no matter what the world throws, keeps walking forward, not despite the pain, but because of it. That is the Stoic path. That is the warrior's path. That is your path. Building the unshakable self-wisdom, strength, focus. These are not gifts. They are earned. They are chosen again and again in the quiet moments of discipline and decision. 2. Live like a Stoic is to train daily, not for applause but for alignment, not for perfection, but for progress. You will be strong, not because life is easy, but because you've learned to endure. You will be wise, because you've chosen clarity over chaos. You will be focused, because you've stopped chasing everything and committed to what matters. So ask yourself, who are you becoming? And if you're serious about this journey, subscribe, stay grounded, stay intentional, and above all, become unshakable.